Within days of the competition, he collapsed and is no longer with us. If a bodybuilder who we know is using performance-enhancing drugs, do not think that that had something to do with their demise. Coach Greg, and in today's video, sadly, we lost another one, an IFBB pro bodybuilder by the name of Mailson Araujo. And so Mailson, he hails from Brazil, an IFBB pro, has an amazing physique. He was shredded. The small waist absolutely peeled, the perfect shape, and he was planning to compete yet again in the hopes of qualifying for this year's Mr. Olympia. Unfortunately, within days of the competition, he collapsed and is no longer with us.
This is the last thing that this guy ever posted, a photo in the gym, just like anybody else, and he's prepping for a show with a caption that reads, "In the process and enjoying every day." And a few hours, literally a few hours after this post went up, he was found dead. And he was only 35 years old.
Mailson Aurora, 35, fell ill at home in Alagoas, Brazil. This was on Monday, so approximately 5 days before the weekend's muscle contest, an event some athletes are using as a stepping stone for the prestigious Mr. Olympia event later in the year. The muscle man couldn't be saved after collapsing despite the best efforts of his mom, who is a nurse, as well as first responders who rushed to the scene.
They're doing it most of the time win nothing. Like the grand majority of bodybuilders that are competing actively and doing these shows are winning nothing.
Technically, they're correct. You don't get a large amount of money from competing in bodybuilding, but competitors, they compete for more than just prize money. Even if there was no money at all, for example, in the amateur ranks, people would still compete. I competed 42 times natural and never won any money at a competition. And even as a pro, blasting steroids for approximately 10 years, I still didn't win any money as a pro. We're not just competing for a plastic trophy. It isn't for money. It's for a combination of everything. The drive to be the best. And unfortunately, when you're competing at this level, if others are doing something, you're probably going to have to do the same thing in order to be competitive. And that is the use of polypharmacy, aka several different drugs, in order to bring your best look on stage. Add to that, at the Mr. Olympia level or even at the amateurs, people using things such as PMMA, permanent filler within the muscle, or perhaps you've heard of synthol or hyaluronic acid, and some will even use implants in various parts of their bodies.
I can accept similar to, a professional football player's career. They may get a traumatic brain injury, but at the end of the day, their career has earned them 30, 40, 50, 60 million dollars. That's kind of a good trade-off if you ask me.
I gotta disagree. It isn't even close to a good trade-off. If you told me that for $60 million, I'm going to have a traumatic brain injury, that I'm going to die an early death 20 years younger, it isn't even close to worth it. Now, when you're young, for example, Coach Colton, he's very, very young. You don't see things the same way as you do when you're 60. If you find out, like this guy, that you've reduced years off of your life, you most certainly would regret those choices when you get older.
In this video, for example, he's flexing, so you could argue like this is him tensing that's making his head shake, but he has like these really weird like vibrations going on to his head, which do kind of make me consider the fact that there could be a very large degree of stimulants going on here.
And so of course there's stimulants going on. Almost everyone dieting for bodybuilding competitions are using, for example, clenbuterol or T3, T4. Many are even using harsher compounds, like, for example, using some adding. I can't say the name, don't want to get demonetized. Recreational substances that are banned. Not saying that he is, but many actually are.
These things, depending on their current potassium intake, will create an environment where you deplete so much sodium and elevate potassium so high that you get hyperkalemic, which can cause your heart to literally just seize and stop.
And so he mentions hyperkalemia, which is having elevated levels of potassium. And one thing we know that causes this is the use of certain diuretics. Seeing as he was Monday leading into a show on the weekend, many bodybuilding coaches have their athletes use aldactone far too soon. Way ahead of the competition, because The athletes, they want to think that the coach is helping them. And when they say, hey, I don't look as dry as I should be, I've seen on Instagram other guys and they look leaner than me, the coaches will deploy the use of aldactone far too soon. And why is aldactone not a good idea? At least this far from competition. Well, because aldactone can in fact cause hyperkalemia because it's a potassium-sparing diuretic. When you take this diuretic, you're going to pee out significantly more, you're going to look leaner, you're going to look drier, but your potassium levels, they can stay elevated, aka it's potassium sparing. You're not getting rid of the potassium. To the opposite extent, something such as Lasix is going to pee out more potassium. And so you could have very low levels. We've heard of people taking Lasix, for example, getting cramps. People who've taken Lasix have also died on stage. I believe Mohamed Benaziza and Andreas Munster are two examples of that. But don't quote me. I could be wrong. Actually, you can quote me. I don't care if I'm wrong. And another diuretic that people often will take is hydrochlorothiazide with triemterene. Now, this diuretic in combination has essentially the canceling out effect. One is going to lower potassium levels, the other is going to raise it, and so essentially they can kind of cancel each other out. None of these diuretics technically are safe. Obviously, diuretics should be used with the advice and consent of your doctor. I've used diuretics for years. The first 42 shows that I did were 100% natural. After that, I did in fact use diuretics. And not only that, I did them in higher doses as well for powerlifting competitions in order to lose significant amounts of weights faster than last time. Looking back, this isn't safe, this isn't healthy, but remember, anything to try and win the competition. If you are in fact entering a bodybuilding competition and your coach is telling you to take aldactone on a Monday or even sooner, ask them, are you sure I need to start this early? Like, what is the benefit? Aldactone is a longer acting diuretic, as in it takes longer to kick in, but it doesn't take a week. You don't have to look shredded a week before the competition. The judges do not judge you based on how you look on Instagram on a Monday morning a week before the competition. Essentially, you're playing Russian roulette with your health. Some people have amazing genetics. They can use and abuse lots of steroids, perhaps diuretics as well, and still live with no problems. Other people, it's quite the opposite. They use a little bit, and even that is dangerous to their health. The problem is you don't know which one you are. You can't just go to the doctor and get some blood work and say, hey, I'm safe because the blood work looks good, and so let's blast as much as we can. It doesn't work like that. Unless you're getting blood work each and every day and analyzing it, how would you know? You wouldn't. That is the problem.
Now, you compile diuretic usage with steroids and stimulants. All of these things are going to massively impact cardiac function. Massively.
Just how much could it impact cardiac function? Like, how dangerous is taking steroids and perhaps on top of that diuretics, really? And so, just so that you have an accurate comparison, does anyone think that being a chain smoker or smoking a lot of cigarettes is actually healthy? I think we all know that it's dangerous. And so what's more dangerous, smoking or bodybuilding by using performance-enhancing drugs? Well, in comparison to bodybuilding, abusing steroids, for example, the way that I did, smoking a pack of cigarettes a day for 10 years is not even close to as dangerous as bodybuilding. Bodybuilding, way more dangerous. On a scale of 1 to 10, ChatGPT rates one pack a day for 10 years as a 5.5 out of 10. Using steroids, blasting, for just 5 years is more dangerous than smoking a pack of cigarette a day for 10 years. And so 5 years abusing steroids, it's already worse. I did it for 10. 10 years, it's an 8 out of 10 danger level. And if you add in the use of diuretics on top of that, it's a 9 out of 10. And so the next time you think, oh, bodybuilding isn't all that dangerous, well, do you think that smoking a pack of cigarettes a day for 10 years is dangerous? Because if you do, this is far worse. Imagine this. There are bodybuilders out there who use steroids and diuretics and smoke cigarettes and drink alcohol. Imagine how dangerous it is to use all of these in combination.
And to be honest, in the last posts that he made, specifically the very last one where he died hours later, he doesn't look okay. In these pictures, he looks, in every single one, sort of disconnected.
And so he mentions at this time he doesn't look as happy. He doesn't seem as excited. This very well could be true. I remember the last competition that I went to when I barely could make the weight. When I went to the weigh-in, I didn't talk to anyone. I didn't smile. I wasn't happy because I was literally on my deathbed. I was barely able to walk. As I stepped on the scale, I almost passed out. I could barely keep it together because I had to weigh in at 185 pounds to make classic physique. Now, since that time, they've added 7 pounds to the weight class. But you can imagine when you're 194 pounds the day before the competition, shredded, and you then need to lose 9 pounds more. You're not drinking water, taking diuretics, and what do you think is going to happen? And so I'm barely functional. A different bodybuilding competition, I remember I went to my room at Canadian Nationals. The door was locked. My key wasn't working. I didn't have the energy to go back down to the lobby, and so I laid on the floor in front of my room. Waited to get some help so that somebody could open my door. I didn't have the energy to get up and walk to the lobby. This is the day before competition. And so that is the level of suffering that you're doing sometimes in order to win a bodybuilding competition. When you're trying to make weight classes, you're trying to get shredded, when you're not eating, you're not carved up, this is the result of it. Now, does everyone suffer to this level? No. Some people don't use diuretics. Some people don't need them. But others, well, they're going to do whatever it takes. And if using diuretics is going to help even 1%, for me it probably helped 5, it makes a significant difference, then I was going to do it. But looking back, I'm thinking, was it really worth it? Was it really worth me dieting down from 224 pounds to 198 pounds in one day in order to make a weight class for powerlifting? Taking 10 Lasix pills at once in order to lose 1 more pound when nothing was working. Leaving that weigh-in with no shoes. Not being able to drive, having friends drive me around, and that is what I thought was worth doing in order to break records and to win these competitions. And so when I speak about these things, I speak from experience. I know what it was like. And like him, I would have also done whatever it takes. At the time, it seemed like it was worth it because that is your world. That is your everything.
You know, the cause of death was undisclosed. You don't know what's going on. Dude, let's be honest. Like, a 35-year-old doesn't just fall over dead that happens to be a bodybuilder who also happens to be like a week out from his next show.
No cause of death was released, but do we really need a cause of death? A lot of times people, they pass away and we don't learn why. They don't want to post about it. These are private details from families. But we can still speculate. We can still make videos in order to help people. If a bodybuilder who we know is using performance-enhancing drugs, or at least we assume that they are because, hey, frankly, basically everyone else is, do not think that that had something to do with their demise. And so, of course, if you want to see if you're healthy, what damages have you been doing, you can go to AlgoRx. You can get your blood work taken. Doctors can prescribe medications. Or why not just stay natty? You can use things like, for example, Turk Builder Max, or the newest supplement on the block known as Ferula Max, which for most people is going to double your testosterone levels or more. It's WADA approved, which means you will pass all drug tests. You are 100% natural while using this, while experiencing the greatest boost in testosterone you'd ever seen. Far more potent than, for example, G-Test Platinum. This is the best new supplement in decades, and you can only get it at HTLT Supplements, the most innovative, most cutting-edge supplement company in the world. Code Greg for your discount. Interested in being sponsored or an athlete or selling the supplements to your stores and or gyms, or if you'd like me to coach you or myself and my team, simply click the link right there. Don't forget to watch at least one of the 2 videos right here. As always, you can purchase the cookbook on my website. About 200 recipes, low calories, high protein, is going to be a huge difference maker in your dieting career. And until next time, I am out.